Well, let's look at Le Figaro then and its article and its coverage of what's going on in Paris. It talks about Paris, you know, France is in shock.
Yeah.
I must admit, I was in Paris very recently with my 3 young boys, and we were whizzing around the, you know, the Arc de Triomphe, up and down the Champs-Élysées, doing all the tourist stuff. I mean, it is shocking what's going on in there, and the level of protest. And it's different this time as well. It's not sort of led by unions, the sort of regular protests we see across France. This has got a different feel to it.
It does have a different feel, and I think that's the reason why, you know, Macron flew back and actually held an emergency meeting, because what started as very peaceful protests and what started as protests against a rise in the duty against diesel, which is what I was alluding to earlier, has clearly now taken a really darker turn. And it's really unfortunate because you have, you know, masked people running through the streets that are clearly prepared for violence. They're carrying, you know, little vials of, you know, eye drops in order to sort of counteract against tear gas. They're really prepared to start vandalizing and actually destroying the city. And that
has been happening.
That has been happening.
Pictures of you know, various really important parts of France.
Hundreds of people being hurt. Yeah, hundreds of people being hurt, people being, you know, hospitalized, people dying. It's causing a bit of a problem. And Macron is saying, listen, I've got sort of my political opponents who are using this as an excuse to rally their supporters to try and make this a much darker protest and a much darker movement. So he really does need to get a grip on it.
This is always the concern about any protests of this sort of nature here in the UK, wherever in France, that others, smaller militant groups will hijack what actually is quite a peaceful protest about some very important issue. In terms of France, I mean, his approval ratings have been falling for quite some time now. How he handles this for him personally is as important as it is for, you know, policy in France, isn't it?
It's unquestionably his sort of biggest challenge since he's actually been in office in the last 18 months. So how he responds in the next week and whether or not he can get the sort of mood to dissipate slightly, and having asked, you know, his sort of Prime Minister to make sure to meet with some of these groups, hopefully that kind of abates it.
Yeah, we shall keep an eye for sure. Looking at pictures now of him looking around Paris, as you say, he hot-footed it back from Buenos Aires to be seen to be there. It's important he's,
Absolutely.
he's in France.